Look at this map. Your eyes should travel to the very bottom of the Arabian Peninsula. Here, a thin strip of green land hugs the coast. This is where our story begins. From this small corner of the world, a trail once stretched for thousands of miles. It was not a road made of stone, but a path etched into sand and memory. It connected the green hills of southern Arabia with the grand cities of the ancient world. This line on the map represents one of history's most important trade routes. It was the road that carried a precious treasure to emperors and gods. This route was called the Frankincense Trail. It was a network of desert tracks and sea lanes. It moved a single powerful commodity that perfumed the known world. Imagine a line drawn with invisible ink, a line made of scent. It started in the misty mountains of what is now Oman and Yemen. It crossed endless deserts. It reached bustling ports on the Red Sea. From there, it traveled by ship to Egypt, Greece, and the mighty Roman Empire. The trail was the lifeblood of ancient Arabia. Its existence turned remote desert kingdoms into global powers. This is the journey we will take, following that scented line on the map. The story of the trail begins with a tree. It is not a tall or majestic tree. It is a tough, scraggly plant called the Boswellia sacra. These special trees grow in very few places on Earth. Their most famous home is in the Dhofar region of southern Oman, the Hadramaut region of Yemen. Here, the coastal mountains catch the monsoon rains. This creates a unique climate, a misty green world, perfect for the frankincense tree. For thousands of years, this small corner of Arabia held a monopoly on one of the world's most desired goods. The trees grew wild on the rocky slopes, their roots clinging to the dry soil. Getting the frankincense was a careful art passed down through generations. It was a harvest of tears. Harvesters would use a special knife to make a small cut in the bark of the Boswellia tree. A milky white sap would slowly ooze out, like a tear. This sticky liquid would drip down the trunk and harden in the dry air. After a few weeks, the harvesters would return to scrape off the hardened resin. These small, pearly lumps were the frankincense. The best quality resin was a pale, silvery color. It was sorted by size, sorted by clarity, then packed into sacks for its long journey. It was from these misty hills that the world's supply of sacred smoke began its journey. Once the frankincense was harvested and sorted, it had to be transported. This was the work of the great caravans. A caravan was like a slow-moving town, a long line of camels stretching to the horizon. A single caravan could have hundreds, sometimes thousands. Each animal could carry hundreds of pounds of resin, food, water, supplies for the journey. The camel was the perfect desert vehicle. It could go for days without water. Its wide feet could walk easily on soft sand. Its long eyelashes protected its eyes from blowing sand. Without the camel, the frankincense trade would have been impossible. The journey was incredibly difficult. The route led north from the southern coast, plunging into the vast, empty desert of Arabia. The sun was scorching during the day, and the nights could be freezing cold. There were no roads, only shifting tracks in the sand that the guides knew by heart. They navigated using the sun, the stars, and the shape of the dunes. The most important places along the route were the oases. The Frankincense Trail was not just an empty track through the desert, it was dotted with bustling towns and cities that grew rich from the trade. These were the service stations of the ancient world. One of the most important was Shabwa, the capital of the Hadramaut kingdom. All caravans moving north had to pass through Shabwa. Here, the rulers imposed a tax on every camel load of frankincense. This tax made the kingdom incredibly wealthy. Shabwa became a legendary city with grand temples and palaces, all built with the money that flowed from the scented resin. It was a mandatory stop, a place to rest trade and pay for passage. Further along the coast was the port of Kiana. This was a critical link between the land route and the sea route. Caravans from the interior would arrive at Kiana, and their precious cargo would be loaded onto ships. These ships then sailed to ports in Egypt, Berenice, Myos Hormos, or further north to the Nabatean kingdom. Ships also arrived in Kana carrying goods from India, spices, textiles. Kana was a melting pot. Arabian traders, Indian sailors, Egyptian merchants. In the north, the trail reached its most famous destination, the city of Petra. The Nabateans were master traders. They controlled the final leg of the frankincense trail. From Petra, routes branched out to the port of Gaza on the Mediterranean coast. These cities were centers of culture, art, and innovation. These were the shining jewels of the desert, built by the power of a simple scent. Why was this simple resin so important? The answer lies in its many uses, which touched every part of ancient life. Its most significant role was in religion. In the temples of Egypt, in the temples of Babylon, in the temples of Greece, in the temples of Rome, priests burned frankincense in huge quantities. The thick, fragrant smoke was believed to please the gods. The smoke was thought to carry prayers to the heavens. It was used to purify the temple. It was used to purify the worshippers. Roman Emperor Nero was said to have burned an entire year's harvest of frankincense at the funeral of his wife. The demand from temples alone kept the caravans moving for centuries. Beyond the temple, frankincense was a key ingredient in medicine and personal care. Ancient physicians like Hippocrates in Greece wrote about its healing properties. Pliny the Elder in Rome also recorded its uses. They believed it could reduce inflammation. They believed it could treat wounds. They believed it could help with digestion. It was ground into powders. It was mixed into ointments. It was prescribed to be chewed like gum. It was the base for the finest perfumes. Women used coal made with burnt frankincense. Men used coal made with burnt frankincense. The economic value of frankincense was astounding. At its peak, it was said to be worth its weight in gold. The Roman Empire spent enormous sums to import it. This outflow of gold and silver to Arabia worried Roman economists. Frankincense was a form of currency. Taxes were paid with it. Soldiers were sometimes paid with portions of it. The frankincense trade was not a brief moment in history. It rose and fell over a very long period. The trade likely began more than 3,000 years ago, around 1000 BCE. At first, it was small and regional. But as the great empires of the Mediterranean grew, so did the demand for frankincense. The trade reached its absolute peak during the time of the Roman Empire, from about the 1st century BCE to the 3rd century CE. During these centuries, the trail was at its busiest. Vast fortunes were made. Arabia Felix, the southern kingdoms, were at the height of their power. The success of the trade depended on stability. The kingdoms along the route had to be strong enough to protect the caravans from bandits. The Nabateans at Petra, Hadramaut Kingdom, Saba Kingdom. They built watchtowers. They built forts. They maintained wells. They maintained oases. As long as this system worked, the frankincense flowed north. The gold flowed south. However, no empire lasts forever, and no trade route is eternal. One major factor: new sea routes. This bypassed the long, expensive land route through Arabia. The caravans started to lose importance. Desert trading cities saw fewer camels arriving at their gates. Another major change: the fall of the Roman Empire. The rise of Christianity. Pagan temples were closed. Demand fell sharply. The great caravans may be gone, but the frankincense trail has not vanished completely. Its legacy is written in the desert landscape and in the culture of the people who live there today. Across Oman, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, you can still find the echoes of this ancient trade. Archaeologists have uncovered the ruins of the great trading cities. You can walk through the remains of Shabwa or the port of Sumhuram in Dhofar, a site now protected by UNESCO. These stone foundations and broken walls are silent witnesses to a time when they were filled with the sounds of merchants and the scent of spice. The most famous ruin is Petra in modern-day Jordan. They are walking in the footsteps of the ancient caravan leaders who brought their frankincense here for the final leg of its journey. In southern Oman, the tradition of the harvest continues. They still use the same traditional methods to cut the bark and collect the precious resin. Local markets in cities like Salalah are filled with the scent of frankincense, sold for use in homes and at festivals. It was a highway for ideas, not just goods. Languages, technologies, and religious beliefs were exchanged. When someone today burns a piece of frankincense, they are connecting to this long history. They are breathing in the same scent that filled Egyptian temples, Roman villas, and the desert camps of the Cameleers. The trail is more than a line on a map. It is a timeless story of scent, survival, and civilization.